Hey everybody, Dog8798 here. This is my salute and review of the 1994 Street Fighter film. I know I already did this, but you're going to be seeing a lot of duplicate reviews and other videos surrounding movies like this and DVD because this is all I really like and all I really watch. With that being said, this is my salute and review of Street Fighter 94. Like I said in my last review, I first saw this movie in 1998 and loved it. You don't know how blown away I was when I saw this back in 1998. Okay, I knew there was a Mortal Kombat film, a Double Dragon film, and I knew there was a Street Fighter 2 animated movie, but I did not know there was a Street Fighter live action movie. And this movie was very different from what I remember from the games, but really wasn't familiar that much with the game's backstory, other than that the main characters appear to be Ryu and Ken and Guile and Chun-Li, which is somewhat true. Ryu and Ken are the main characters, but Guile and Chun-Li are pretty much the main heroes of Street Fighter because they're trying to bring down Bison. And yes, Bison, Sagat, and Vega were the bad guys. Balrog, he kind of confused me whether he was a good guy or bad guy or not, because he appears as a good guy in this film, but I'm going to tackle that later. Right now, going back to the origins of me seeing this movie. Like I said, I saw it in 98 and been a huge fan ever since, and finally tracked it down again in 2006. And I've just been watching it ever since, man. And this is an awesome DVD right here. Not only is the movie good, the DVD extras are good. They give you previews and demos of the Street Fighter arcade game, which I thought was awesome. You get a featurette commentary from Steven D'Souza, the director and writer of this film, and you get a trailer. You get 3 different trailers. Well, my favorite being the one where they say it's Ryu versus Vega. They show the video games of Ryu and Vega fighting. Then they show the live action versions of them fighting. Zangief and E Honda. First they show the video game versions of themselves, then the live action versions of themselves, and of course the ultimate climax, Guile versus Bison. They show Guile versus Bison in the game and the live action adaptations of those characters. Then of course you got a long trailer showing you how they did this movie, how they did all the stunts. You got the gag reel, which shows you how each scene was filmed. It shows you a cool sparring session between Raul Julia as in Bison and Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile. So like I said, this right here not only was I think this was an awesome film. This is one of the best DVDs ever. They usually don't try when it comes to producing DVDs, but that part doesn't really matter that much to me because I don't buy the DVDs for the extras. I buy it for the films. With that being said, like I said, I remember being blown away that I saw this movie in 1998, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. I was immediately able to recognize who Guile and Bison were. I didn't recognize Ken and Ryu until they said their names. Of course. And of course, I immediately recognized Guile and Bison. I immediately recognized Chun-Li. I immediately recognized Zangief, Balrog, and E Honda, despite the fact E Honda was Hawaiian. But yeah, I did not recognize Cammy, T-Hawk, and DJ, and Sawada, who was replacing Fei Long in this film, because I had not played Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo yet. For me, it was Street Fighter 2, the World Warrior, the very first one, and its update, Street Fighter 2 Champions Editions. I didn't get to see those other characters until Street Fighter Alpha. I played Street Fighter Alpha first, the Alpha series, then I later played Street Fighter 2 Turbo in the early 2000s. And speaking of Alpha, of course, Charlie Blank. I was immediately able to recognize Blanka when Charlie became Blanka, but I did not know Charlie was a guy in the game until I played Street Fighter Alpha, because like I said, I started with Street Fighter 2. But I just watched this film again, and in my opinion, this film is pretty awesome. The only problem I have with it is that it took several liberties with the video game source material. But this was still on its own as a standalone movie. This was still on its own. It's like a combination of GI Joe, X-Men, GI Joe and X-Men, and of course those action films from the 80s like Commando. Those action films from the 80s and early 90s like Commando and Universal Soldier. And of course, I'm a huge fan of B movies. For some reason, I love B movies, man. I admire the production, the casting, the scripting, everything. And these B movies are way better than I give it credit for. Of course, I think a Street Fighter movie today could be done even way better than this. Way better than this. Especially after what I saw in X-Men, Dragon Ball Evolution, the Green Lantern, and the Avengers film. I think a brand new Street Fighter film today could blow this out of water. But I thought this, for its time, was really good. Of course, critics aren't going to like this type of film because it's B-movie stuff. It's B-movie garbage. You have to appreciate this stuff to like it. And of course, it was kind of cheesy and stuff, and it's just cliche. You've seen it before, but if you played the video games like I did, you can have some appreciation for it. This video was originally also going to be a Street Fighter 1994 haters rant, but I can understand where people are coming from who absolutely hate this movie because, like I said, while this movie stands good on its own, it did ruin Street Fighter. It did ruin the Street Fighter video games. Like I said, in my opinion, the best adaptations of Street Fighter outside of their video games are the various comic books and mangas based on the franchise, and of course the 1995 cartoon series. The Street Fighter 2 animated film, which I think that gets too much praise, but that's one of my favorites too. I actually saw that before I saw this. Was pretty damn awesome too. Was pretty freaking awesome too. That was a much better adaptation than this, even though I love both films about the same. And I think a better Street Fighter cartoon series could even be done. Anime or cartoon series could be done today. And then of course there was Street Fighter Alpha in the early 2000s, which I thought was I think that was either early 2000s or 99, not late 99. Late 99 I saw it in the early 2000s. Street Fighter Alpha, which I thought was also awesome, and a pretty good adaptation of Street Fighter. But the best adaptations outside their books are the cartoon series, the American cartoon series, and the various comic books and mangas based on the franchise. But like I said, this right here was awesome. I love the cast. I love the live action characterizations and adaptations of Guile, who was portrayed by Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Bison portrayed by the late great Raul Julia, and Andrew Bryanowski portraying Zangief, Grando Bush portraying Balrog, Peter Navy Tsunade, I think that's his name. I can't pronounce his last name, but he portrays the Honda. Ming-Na Wen as Chun-Li, Ming-Na Wen and Byron Man and Damian Choppa as Ryu and Ken, respectively. So I thought you had an awesome cast. The guy who plays DJ, Miguel Munez, he was pretty awesome and funny too, but I thought he was lame in comparison to his video game counterpart. He was mostly there as a lackey and a comedic lackey to Bison. When in the games, when I think DJ, I think of him throwing those Sonic Boom moves and using those cool martial arts, kickboxing, dance maneuvers, and you didn't see that in this film. Same with T-Hawk, Rainwater. I think his name is Greg Rainwater, the guy who plays T-Hawk. I thought he was just a watered down version of Guile in this film, but even Steven D'Souza defends this as saying T-Hawk was his least favorite of the Street Fighter characters. And of course, Captain Sawada, I thought he was a lame replacement for Fei Long, but Steven D'Souza says he considered Fei Long too generic to be in this film. Those are probably one of the problems I have with this film, which brings me to my next problem I have with this film, is that the problem with this film, I've said it 1,000 times, is the fact that Get 12 Street Fighter characters, 16 if you're counting the new challengers, and then each of them have moves, each of them have backstories, and it's gonna be. And that was at the time that was kind of hard to implicate all of that into this film. However, I think you can do way better now, and since you have to find a script that accommodates each of these characters, that leads to changes in who they are, and that's what happened with this film. Ryu and Ken, of course, that was probably the worst thing about this film, even though I love these live action adaptations of Ryu and Ken, but them being Con Man, it worked for this live action adaptation, but yeah, talk about inconsistent with the games. Then of course, the rivalry switch. Ken rivalry with Sagat and Ryu's rivalry with Vega. I thought that was a cool switch, a cool new spin on the franchise. And everybody pretty much with the exception of Guile, Bison, and Zangief and Honda were for the most part changed. Balrog is just like himself except he's with the good guys, and DJ, like I said, I was disappointed he wasn't a fighter and he's with the bad guys. I was kind of disappointed with him. Dawson, I was disappointed with that too. Actor was good, but him being a doctor instead of a fighter, fighting for his village, I thought that was lame. Charlie and Blanca, combining them into one person, really don't mind that as much. At the time, I thought that was Blanca's human form. I didn't know until I played Street Fighter Alpha. And Zangief, the only thing different about him is that he's a bad guy in this film, but he's only a bad guy because he's dumb and thinks Bison is fighting for freedom and peace, when actually Bison is the enemy of freedom and peace. So Zangief is still a good guy. He's still very much close to who Zangief is. The story is pretty good. Instead of them being in a Street Fighter tournament, Steven D'Souza incorporated the characters into an action adventure movie, and that's what it was. It was awesome. Awesome. Of course, I would love to see a remake with the Street Fighter tournament now. And this movie was just awesome. The only problem I have with this movie is the poorly edited fight scenes. The fight choreography, in my opinion, the action sequences were well choreographed. The action and stunts were well choreographed. But one problem I have is that during the final fights between Guile and Bison and Ryu and Ken versus Vega and Sagat, you can tell the editing is kind of bad because they're trying to shoot three different fight scenes at once. But I love the fighting and stunt choreography in this film. I also love how they tried to incorporate special moves like Ryu, the Flash Hadouken. I thought that was really awesome. Ken, his Shoryuken was awesome and hilarious at the same time because he didn't jump. And Bison shooting guy with thunder and flying through the air. And also I love the characters in this film. Of course, you have Guile, you have Jean-Claude Van Damme portrays the cocky but brave and well-meaning Guile. You have Raul Julia. Since Raul Julia was sick at the time of this filming and passed away, of course, sadly passed away before this film was released, he couldn't match Van Damme. So Raul Julia had to portray a weaker but still capable Bison, which in my opinion made me like Bison more. It makes Bison sort of a cool underdog type character. He's weak, but he's still strong enough to be a threat to Guile. He's still strong enough to be a threat to Guile, and he's honorable, wanting to meet Guile one-on-one on the battlefield. That's one thing I loved about Raul Julia's character in this film. He's probably, a lot of people consider him to be the best character in this film. Zangief was hilarious in this film. So was DJ, even though I didn't like this characterization of DJ and E Honda and Balrog were badass in this film. Ken and Ryu, in my opinion, despite the fact I hate how different they are from the games, games. They were pretty awesome in this film. They were also hilarious. Chun-Li is just pretty much just like herself, except she's a TV reporter instead of a police officer. And Guile, of course, is a colonel instead of, I think, a lieutenant in the game. But that's a minor change. I can deal with that. Yeah, this film's awesome. Awesome B-movie stuff. Love B-movies, man. And this is a good one right here. Well, Dog 8798 out. Yeah.